Hey, what's up, guys? This is the Super Saiyan Prodigy here, and today I'll be talking about Drytrons. I'm going to be talking about how to beat them, where to hand trap them, some tips and tricks, and a dual analysis for you guys. So let's go ahead and get this started. So Drytrons, so what's their win condition here? So the deck mainly does a lot of searching. They like to reuse the Meteonis Drytron to go ahead and special summon out either the Cyber Angel Ben 10, the Idaten, or even the Herald of Ultimateness and the Orange Light. But they usually have to either ritual summon the Idaten first, more than likely, to get a ritual spell to their hand. Whether that be the Meteonis Drytron or, the Meteonis Drytron. And mainly some of their starters are the Diviner of Heralds, because they'll end up sending the Herald of the Arclight, and then they'll try to get the ritual monsters such as the Benten or the Idaten, and they go ahead and start tributing off either Drytron monsters for like their Alpha or their the Zetas, and try to get pluses off of that. And then once they have about 2 Drytrons on the field, they'll go into the Mu Beta Fafnir to go ahead and send some more Drytrons into the graveyard, probably like a Gamma, because you're able to, or maybe, I guess just like any other Drytrons they really haven't used up until that point. And then they also have some protection, such as the negation from spell and traps, but it's not really used for that. One of the biggest pluses that it's used for is that it's able to have its Xyz materials used for the ritual summon of the Meteonis Drytrons. So it's also a big plus because they get more use out of the Xyz materials from the Mu Beta Fafnir. Typically their end board is going to be, I almost forgot about card as well. The Ava as well allows them to if it gets sent to the graveyard, such as off of either the, Beatrice. The Beatrice, if it gets sent to the graveyard, can search out the Ava on their turn, and they can also search it on your turn, such as during the draw phase or standby phase. So typically, on a full end board, they're going to end with IP Masquerade, Beatrice, and a either Herald of Ultimateness or Perfectionate. Whichever build they kind of prefer. Some people run Preparation of Rites. I've seen a few builds. The one with Preparation of Rites I haven't seen too much of. I did see it once at the LCS, but the other ones did not run the Preparation of Rites build. It was mainly the Herald of Ultimateness. I saw one Herald of Perfection though. But yeah, so typically this deck just does a whole bunch of searching. Like I said before, they rely on tributing Drytron monsters from each other in order to plus, and just kind of turbo out into either the Beatrice or the Mu Beta Fafnir, depending on their hand. And then so with this, what also makes it difficult is that they could also have a Herald of Orange Light in hand, and they could just send one other fairy monster they have in their hand to the graveyard to negate whatever monster effect activation you use. But yeah, so this deck just has a lot of it's kind of like Dragon Link, where like if you kind of just hit them in one spot, it does slow them down, but typically they will still be able to end on a really strong board. Because even if you negate maybe like an Alpha with like an Ash Blossom or the Yama with a Ghost spell, they can typically just use like a Drytron Nova to special summon out another Drytron monster. And then how do you stop the Drytron matchup exactly? Well, you have various options. I think I say this a couple times, but it's kind of true. It's like stuff like Ghost Spell, Ash Blossom, they slow it down a little bit. Like you Ash Blossom like Herald, like yeah, okay, it'll stop them from getting to like their it'll stop them from increasing the level of the Diviner, or stopping them from searching out like the ritual monster or the ritual spell card to their hand, but they can more than likely make it up by either tributing off more of their Drytron monsters to go into the Mu Beta Fafnir, or something else as well. So a really good place to hand trap them would be when they bring out the Mu Beta Fafnir, because they rely on this to not only dump but also to ritual summon using its Xyz materials. So it's better that you affect Valor or Infinite Impermanence this monster because they want to get like the most use of it out of possible. Get the most use out of it possible, sorry. And then if you just end up like effect valoring this, well, they pretty much have to use the entire monster and its Xyz materials for a ritual summon, which in which case they're not going to be able to plus as much as they usually would. Drone Lockbird is very good as well because they rely on searching in order to get their Herald of the Orange Lights to hand, as well as searching off other Drytron monsters, the ritual spells, in order to try to bring out their Herald ritual monsters. Going first, Anti-Spell is very good, and Imperial Order as well, since they rely on using their spell cards to bring out their ritual boss monsters. Psycho Reader is good as well, because with the new ruling that was introduced last year, if a monster is tributed and then it gets moved to a different location, such as DD Crowing the Ben 10 last format, when it gets tributed, it loses the ability to use its effect. So it's pretty good in that aspect. Some people side it in, some people don't. I feel like it kind of depends. If you think your locals is gonna be all Drytron, then by all means side for it, you know. But yeah. Droplet is also very good as well because it's gonna be okay. I wouldn't say it's like very good, because if all you had going second was like a Droplet, like you didn't affect Valor, the Fafnir, or use a Droll and Lockbird, then it's still going to be pretty hard to out their board, because they're more than likely going to have at least 1 or 2 Herald of the Orange Lights in hand. In which case, probably, you're going to need... I'd say I've been able to like break a board of Drytrons with a Torguide and Kagamusha Knight in hand, plus Droplets, and also possibly Torn Scales or Silent Boots, but it also depends on what they decide to negate with the remaining Herald of the Orange Light in their hand as well. So it's a pretty tough matchup, considering how it's like you can hand trap them, you know, Hash Blossoms, Ghost Spell. Ghost Spell only works against the Gamma, even if it's in their hand. All the other ones, they have to be inside the graveyard to be able to Ghost Spell them. Because it's just a weird ruling with Ghost Spell about that. Because Gamma specifically says that it's able to special summon from the graveyard. It's kind of like that thing with Gamma, where like even though it's not directly special summoning from the graveyard, you're still able to bell it, if that makes any sense to you guys. But yeah, this Drytron match is pretty it's pretty hard. I went up against it, I think, 4 times in the LCS, and I won against the majority of the time, but that's because I was kind of ready for the matchup itself. So I'll just go ahead and do a duel analysis over one of those duels as well. I'll go ahead and meet you guys there. Alright guys, so this is going to be round 2 of the LCS match I had last weekend. And then I fortunately ended up winning the RPS, so I'm going to go ahead and decide to go first. 42 cards, weirdly enough, for Drytron. So he doesn't have any hand traps besides the Infinite Impermanence, and I open up crazy against him. I have Droll, I have Triple Tactics Talent, in case if he decides to hand trap me. And then I open up pretty much full combo against him. We were on mic for pretty much the entire time of this match, so that's why you don't really see me confirming on chat what to do and etc. So he just ends up scooping there. And then don't worry, this match is pretty short, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys another one. But he opens up with the Alpha, Herald of Perfection, Orange Light, and the Cyber Angel Ben 10, as well as Cyber Emergency. So his hand is pretty weak to Droll right now, which is fortunate because I open up with Droll this turn. So he's going to go ahead and add these Cyber Emergencies. So Alpha and Zeta is typically full combo actually. So I do try to stop him with the Droll right here, but he does negate the Droll and Lockbird with the Herald of the Orange Light. So he just decides to add Idaten, and he also searches out the Diviner Herald with the Ben 10. And then he's going to attempt to go into the Mu Beta Fafnir to try to dump a Drytron monster to the graveyard, but fortunately I have the Effect Veiler. So here he's going to use the Meteonis Drytron, tributing off the Mu Beta Fafnir into the Cyber Angel Ben 10, and he's going to try to use the Herald to, I think, dump the Herald Synchro and then make it a level 6 so he can go ahead and search out the search out more Herald of the Orange Lights with Ava. Or no, actually he doesn't do that. He just dumps out a Gamma. He's going to use Gamma Effect and then bring it back out the Zeta, and he has Meteonis Drytron in hand. So instead of doing the play that I've seen most people do, he's actually just going to go into a Dragoon here instead. And so then yeah, he sends out the Ava, banishes all of them, and then he has one Herald. So at this point I pretty much have to play around the about 2 negations here, since he didn't go for the IP Masquerena. So then yeah, so here I go for, this is a very good hand by the way, because I have protection against Nibiru, but I know he doesn't have Nibiru because I asked him if I knew any cards in hand, and just because I kind of forgot, literally. So I know he has the Meteonis Drytron. I know his entire hand basically, but even if I didn't, this is a very good hand to play around Nib. So I go ahead and send the graph, and I set a card before doing so. So then that way, in case if he decides to destroy my Cherubini, I can use its passive effect to prevent its destruction. And so then here he negates the graph. That's fine because I'm going to use the Torn Scales here to dump the Torn Scales. And here I use the effect of Silent Boost to search out the Fog Blade. This was a little bit of a misplay on my part, because if he would have negated the Torn Scales, I would have been kind of screwed at that point, because if he would have negated the Torn Scales, I'd be stuck sitting on a Cherubini and 2 Fog Blades. So a little bit of a misplay on my part, I'm not going to lie about that. But I fortunately did get lucky that he chose not to negate the Torn Scales. So because if he would have negated it and I would have searched out the Shea Brigandine, I would have a Dragoon. I'd be able to burn the Beatrice for like 2,500, crash into the Dragoon and the Verte, and then depending on whether or not he top decks a Drytron or not, could have changed the outcome, but I guess we'll never know because I won this round. So yeah, so then I go, notice how I summon this to a zone Cherubini points to. I do it because I want to play around Herald of the Orange Light. And another good thing too is that this card's for cost as well. So I'm able to purposely get one of my Phantom Knight cards to the graveyard so I can go ahead and use its effect right away. And that's exactly what I do. He's going to try to negate. He does successfully negate, but I'm going to go ahead and get it protected by the effect of Cherubini. Then I'm going to go ahead and use the Cloak effect, go ahead and search out the Stained Greaves. I go ahead and get out the Shea Brigandine, bust out the Stained Greaves, make it level 4, go into Raiders Knight, and Arc Rebellion him for game. Yeah, that felt pretty good, honestly, being able to break a Drytron board like that when I got people watching me from the LCS tournament. So it felt really good in that instance. I think I have one more replay I want to show you guys. I just want to make sure this one's it. So yeah, this is my round 4 feature match that I got featured on stream with. Since that one was kind of short, I'll go ahead and show you guys this one. So then yeah, we're both undefeated up until this point. And then he has no hand traps, open up one of the bricks, so I just go ahead and go full combo from here. Fortunately, I had to choose between either Appaloosa or Dragoon. I decided to use the Dragoon here in this instance because I want to get, in case if it's Mystic Mine, if anything, I want to be able to try to negate that in case if it was Sky Striker. But in this case, I didn't know that, right? Because I don't know what my opponent is playing yet. So I just go ahead and bust out the Dragoon here. And then one thing I did misplay is I forgot to search out with boots. I kind of fucked up a little bit by doing that, but he still isn't able to break my board yet. I thought about, because like if I had a fog blade, I'd be able to stop this new beta Fafnir to go into Zeus, but that's a misplay on my part. But I fortunately do have the hand traps in hand to stop it. So yeah, I tries to go downward. I activate Effect Veiler on the Zeus, and then I go ahead and chain Dragoon to go ahead and try to stop it, which I do. So then I do have Droll and Lockbird to slow him down a little bit so he can't search off. He's going to make a Dragoon of his own, but he won't be able to kill me yet. He goes ahead and pops the Rusty, attempts to pop the Cherubini, but I use its passive effect. And then here, maybe I guess it turns out a little bit for the better that I didn't search off the boots earlier, because now I have something to trigger off the Torn Scales with, thanks to the silent boots inside my graveyard. And yeah, he ends up just scooping from there, because he realizes that he can't win. And this hand, the only hand trap I open up with is Nibiru, but for the most part, most Drytron players will play around it by trying to get out their Herald monster by the 5th summon, so they can go ahead and negate it, or have the Herald of Orange Light in hand by the time you try to use Nibiru against them. And so you see on the 5th summon, I try to play around it, but it looks like he just negates it with the Herald of Orange Light, and he also has Lancia for me as well. So yeah, he goes into Beatrice, dumps Ava effect to go search for another Diviner of the Herald and an Orange Light. At that point I just skip it up because I know I have no ways of playing through that many negations. So it's my turn. This one I open up very fortunate. He didn't open up any hand traps, and then even if he did, I had Triple Tactics Talents to play around that. And so yeah, I go ahead and I prematurely dump the gloves to play around Nibiru, and then I go ahead and search out a boots. And now I go ahead and set a card with Cherubini to play around Herald of the Orange Light, bring out my Graf Seer, go into my Rusty Bardiche, go ahead and dump Ancient Cloak, because just to get rid of the any ones I have left in deck. I go ahead and set the Shade Brigandine. I use the gloves to dump a sword. I try to use Torn Scales effect, but I already used it that turn. Go ahead and get out the Levier, recycle the cloak again. I have to do it a little bit awkwardly because normally I would use the cloak effect in the graveyard at that point, but I already used cloak effect that turn, and I didn't want to risk activating the danger effect to draw into potentially a Dragoon brick. So it would leave me with, like, I guess, a really bad card in hand and not really any good discard fodder for Dragoon. So that's why I decided to not discard it with the danger. And in case if he Herald of Orange lighted me my Torn Scales earlier when I went to go discard, I wanted to have something to bring back my Torn Scales. So that's why I discarded the cloak on purpose and not the danger monster. So yeah, so now I finally get out my Appaloosa, and here I risk it a little bit, but so that way I could be able to go into my Dragoon and put up as much effect negation on board as possible. And here I do have the Triple Tactics Talents left for discard fodder in case if I need it. And so yeah, so fortunately, he doesn't have Triple Tactics Talents or any follow-up really that good when I negate his Red Ice Fusion. I decided to not use Appaloosa here on the Diviner of Herald because I want to be able to negate any Drytron monsters effects he might have in his hand. And so yeah, I just keep on negating. Here he actually shouldn't have been able to destroy the Verte Anaconda, because I was under fog blade, but it was just a little bit of forgetfulness on my part a little bit. But I still end up winning that duel. So yeah, so it was pretty lucky on my part. I would say I played that one well, being able to just being careful about setting a card before using Sharbini effect so it doesn't get blown up by Herald of the Orange Light. As well as special summoning like my Torn skills into his own Sharbini points too, so it doesn't get blown up by Herald of Orange Light as well. It's just like a lot of technical plays you have to be like weary of when you're in like high tier matches like this one against tier 1 decks. So yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope I showcased you guys well how to do good against Drytron. Hope you guys enjoyed the tips and tricks and how I do approach these tier decks in a high level tier events like LCS tournaments. I'll be also playing in the Dragon Rider Games tournament this weekend, and if I do well enough in that video, or if I do well enough in that tournament, I might have a deck profile for you guys soon. But anyways, hope you guys enjoy, and have a good day.